So yesterday we received a lot of parts, and also JP managed to finish off doing a bushing for this casing which I've got to install. So we've got lots and lots of bits. There's a brand new 300M shaft, intermediate shaft. JP and I were puzzled about why they did the shaft out of this special material, because there's no thrust on it. And all it does is sort of wear out, but it's into aluminium originally, and they all sort of leak out of there, so we're going to fix that. So we press that in. This is just a sort of a preamble to show you what we've got. We've got a new input gear. This is a 1.4 ratio set, all new. We've got a shim set. We've got bearings. Seem to have an awful lot of bearings. Didn't know there was that many bearings in it. Intermediate bearings, more bearings. These are the input bearings. Now these are the output shaft bearings. I've already put those in, so I'll put them to one side. Seals, I've already got one of those in. So seals, more bearings, input seal, that'll be another little seal, and of course the obligatory fitting kit. Now what we're going to do with this, oh wait a minute, there's a bit more. I don't know why Ashcrofts always give us gasket sets, because nobody actually uses them anymore. But anyway, that said, we're going to get on with putting this together. I'm going to show you how to do it step by step. So we'll clear the decks, and then we'll start to press bearings on. Right, we're going to assemble this casing. Like I said, JP's custom made a bush to go into there, but one thing I wanted to show you was actually how we put them in, because you can't just press them in, you know, like that, because you risk damaging your casing. So we came up with this little idea of making a little internal screw jack. So this goes into here. Wait a minute, how's it going? There we go. So that goes into there, and then we can screw jack this up somehow. There we go. So that will stay in place. So you get the idea. So when we press the bush in, it's not going to distort the casing. I'll get on with that in a minute. But first of all, we're going to put some sleeve retainer on it, just in case, or retaining compound, so it won't move at all. Right, with the bush pressed into place, we're now going to fit the O-rings before we forget, because it's kind of easy to do. There's two O-rings supplied with the kit, a big one and a small one. The big one goes on here, and the small one goes inside here. It's easy to forget, and it's tricky to get in. You might have to have 2 or 3 attempts at doing this, because it's hidden quite the way down. It's funny that it never seems to leak out of this end. You know, it always leaked out the other side. There we go. Run it around with your finger, make sure it's in. So while we're talking about these new shafts, one of the principal causes of leaks out of this side is that when you fit the shaft, you see it's got a chamfer, well, it's a cut here to hold on to the ring, the locating ring. It tends to cut the O-ring when it goes in. So what I do is I take a little file and file that down till it's, you know, nice and smooth, or you can use a buffer and a grinder and then just smooth it, make sure it's nice and smooth, because that will just cut that seal like nobody's business, because it is difficult sometimes to get in. You'll probably see when you've been putting these in, you're hammering them away and the bloody thing cuts the seal. So I've buffed it off like that, look. You see, I've rounded it there and I've rounded it a bit there. Let's see what this goes in like from the opposite side. I'll just put a little bit of oil on it. Easy. See that? Nice and tight as well. So that's that done, but otherwise you would have cut the seal. So we're all ready to assemble part of this because what we're going to do is we're going to do it a little bit differently to the manual. I've already done this piece, so I'm going to assemble that, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then we're going to do this piece. We're going to put the input bearing in, and input gear in, and just check it against its old shim. Right, so what we're going to do now, we're going to push this bearing into the casing, because we're going to be then fitting this piece we did in the previous video, the speedo drive housing, and we fit it a little bit below the surface, so that this edge here, you can see there's an edge on here, this pushes against the edge of the bearing, and it pushes the bearing deeper than this flange here, so that you know it's located properly. Because when you put the diff in, like this thing here, this is the Ashcroft AATB, when we put the bearing on this end, this in effect will be pushed that away, and it will locate really nice. So first of all, we're going to assemble this, keep these bearings clean, put this on, and then we'll put this onto the frame, and we'll assemble this input gear. There, just a little bit below the surface. Right, I've cleaned up all this surface with brake cleaner. That's all nice. We're going to put some high-low sill around this face here. Now, don't blather this up. It doesn't need to be squidged everywhere. It only needs a little bit. So let's go. Right, it's important to get round this piece here, this hole. So you just want a little bit like that. Now, the reason for that is that you don't want too much on there, because you don't want silicone splidging into that hole, because that's the guide hole where the selector shaft goes. That's no good, you don't want that. So let's put that on. Now, things to notice, there's two holes here. These are oil holes. Make sure there's no silicone in there. In this one it was full of silicone. That's why you don't really want to put too much on. So take this and line it up. There. And now we'll get some bolts. Right, so now we're ready to put the bolts in. I like this idea of putting all my bolts through the sandblaster. I just give them a quick coat of zinc 200 Walter paint. It does a really good job. So I know that the bolts on this end are for this side, and the bolts on this side are for this side. It's kind of easy, isn't it? We're going to torque them down to 45 Newton meters. But first of all, we're going to put some, what's this called? 243 thread lock on, the blue stuff. And wind them down. So I'll start to do that. Right. I'll just nip them down to 45 Newton meters, just gradually. And evenly. Get rid of that bottle. Oh. Right. That's that. Now, you can see here where some seal is squidged out, but it hasn't squidged out all outside, so that looks nice. There's less clean up to do. I'm going to look inside now and make sure, well, you can't really see very well, but inside there's no sealer. So that's good. So the next thing we're going to do is, I think we'll put this piece in here. This is the hole I was talking about, this one down here. Just make sure in there, that's where your selector goes, that one there. Just make sure there's no silicone buried deep at the bottom, because it can jam the shaft up. So I mentioned I'd put the bearing in the back of here, and I was going to put the seal in, but I remembered I usually put a used seal in here, because I put it on my test bench and I leave it for a long time. Sometimes it gets a bit damaged putting the shaft in and out, so I'll leave that till last. I've pressed the bearings onto this new gear. So now what we're going to do is just turn it this away before I put it on the stand. We're going to insert this gear cluster, and always remember, this bit goes to this bit. Don't put it the other way around. It's easy done. It will go the other way around, but it will spoil your day, because the gear contact will be next to nothing. I might as well put some oil on this while I'm here. And again, we're all using Timken bearings, all new stuff. Could you use the old ones? Well, it depends what condition they're in. It really does. So the next thing, we're going to have a look at the shim. Where have we put the shim? Now, this is the original shim out of this original transfer case. And the reason why we're going to have a go using it was because it could take a lot of the guesswork out of feeling what this box is like. Because we've got original Timken bearings, we've got a new gear, looks like an OEM gear, so it should be up to spec. Then in theory, but when we put this behind the bearing, it should be the same. Let's have a go. Well, this is interesting. The new gear is small. It should pick up, so I'm going to just flick this off, and we're going to compare the old with the new one, because I've got a sneaking feeling this is somehow different, because there's two different thicknesses of these covers here. If this will come off. There we go. Yep. They're two different heights. Bugger. I knew there was two different ones. Now what's to do? Do we take the bearings off here and put them onto here? Because this is a pretty good gear, but that gear is pretty darn useless. Like I said, this is a customer supplied part. It's not his fault, but that's how it works sometimes. Both of the gear heights are exactly the same. It's just that this space bit in the middle is different for that particular casing. Because that's a 97, 96, 90, it's a 1996 casing. But this looks like it's the earlier one. Oh, mix and match parts, eh? The numbers etched onto the side is FTC 5089. Let me go and have a look and see which one it's supposed to be. Right, so I just got an email back from the owner, and we're going to go ahead and use the original gear here. I should just tell you that why there is a difference. This is a gear here, FTC 5089, and it's 129 millimeters tall from here to the base. Whereas this one is for a suffix G. This is FTC 4962. It's 135 millimeters. And the reason is it's the difference with this cover here. If you can remember, some of them had a tin cover at the back, and this one's just a little bit thicker. So, to save the day, we're now going to take off, that bearing belongs on there, so the bearings are pressed onto here, I'm now going to take off and put them onto here. Funny,